All right, and welcome back to Blood Right. We've just concluded a fun arc in the World of Fire. The group has acquired the Chalice of Light and exited out of the underneath of Castle Stormloft. Before they made their way up, they found that Cardiff was being murdered as they made their way up. It appeared that a weird shadow creature impaled Cardiff with his own staff and then broke the staff, which caused it to uh, create a destructive field around it, which appears to have obliterated Cardiff's entire being, structurally damaged the underneath of Castle Stormloft, and the black shadow creature disappeared as well. The ascent up, once you guys arrived at the top, you met with Iden, who is apparently still in Castle Stormloft in his position as uh, Adalbert, Duke Adalbert. Um, and he explained to you that you've been gone for 3 months, which was obviously a bit confusing since it feels like you've only been gone for about a day. That said, you will have noted that while you were in there, you acquired the chalice. Andy, the armor that you were wearing when you exited out is gone. It has melted away, and Zelhor, the armor that you were wearing while you were in there, is gone. It is melted away, except the
I just
chest,
wish someone had hit me.
except the chest plate, which, as you were exiting, you kind of felt it kind of like clinging to you, and then when the magic pulse burst out from Cardiff's broken staff, you felt it disintegrate off of your body. Upon closer inspection, though, what you realize is that the armor itself, it appears to have burned into your skin underneath. Like you seem to have tattoos now underneath your shirt.
Do these tattoos raise my armor class?
They do.
Oh, nice.
Whatever.
Cool.
So your current base armor class, regardless of whatever you're wearing, if you're not wearing armor, rather, I apologize, is 13 plus your dexterity modifier.
Nice.
Effectively, it's like you have mage armor on all the time, except that you can still wear armor. Or,
Sweet.
I mean, yeah, you could. Your base, if you're not wearing armor, it's 13 plus dexterity modifier. If you put on armor, it's the base plus dexterity modifier or no dexterity modifier per the armor. So it would be overridden by that. Another thing you notice too about yourself there, Zelbor, is the orb has slowed its spinning. It's just kind of orbiting very slowly instead of kind of oscillating at a normal pace. Now it's kind of just slowing around your head. And yeah, just genuinely kind of just have a mood of like you were in the plane. You just have a mood of indifference towards it and the whole affair.
Gotcha.
And yeah, Iden, says you can stay in the apartments if need be.
All right. Should that be our plan then, guys?
I don't have a better one.
Yeah, for the moment until we figure out another plan.
Yeah. You know, when you guys, actually, I'll say this later when we're alone. Never
Okay.
mind. I'm not gonna say it in front of Iden. I say thank you, Iden, for being very gracious. I really appreciate it. We could use a little bit of time to kind of get get our feet back and get ready to decide what we're gonna do next.
He gently kind of like the girls that were with him kind of get up and start moving away. He gently kind of slaps them on their rear ends and kind of gives them a look, and they start to run off. He stands up, kind of brushes himself off, and once the girls have kind of left, he kind of moves his hand over his face and becomes Duke Adalbert right before your eyes from being Bob. And he says to you, I had some business I had to deal with anyway at this time, so feel free to stay here or go back to your residences. However, I will let you know that your residences currently have squatters, from what I've been told by my eyes, and kind of gives you guys a nod and starts.
Wait, what happened to Afune then?
Oh, you mean the Red Bard?
Yes,
The female that you were staying with? Yeah, she She left the city about a month ago. Yeah, she was playing quite a lot of shows, but I would say if you want more information on that, I could probably get it for you. It might take a little while, and I can tell you what I know.
Yes, that's-
And
Yeah.
Hawkwood asked about the location of Hoppler.
Hoppler should be at his home.
Okay.
What about, would we be able to have access to your armor? I need to get a set of plate mail.
Any provision that would be required of my charges would be handled by the castle's smith. So he kind of walks over to his desk, pulls out a draft, an already pre-written letter, and he signs it. You can see that he takes special care signing it. Doesn't look like he's flippantly throwing his hand. And he takes the sheet and hands it to you. And he says, "You take this to the smith in the castle's bailey. You should be able to requisition anything that you would need."
Thank you very much.
If you also ask him specifically that your need is great, he may be able to get you in contact with smiths in the mountain. And he kind of gestures out the open window at Coalbeard Mountain where the dwarves live.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem. And he says, "Hawk, I will let you know that you have been replaced as captain of the guard." He kind of shrugs.
Seems fair.
Whatever.
You've been gone for quite a while, and he leaves.
Understandable.
He's gone. Okay, guys. I think we're very lucky because when we left to go down to that hole in the ground, whatever that was, hell,
He was super pissed at us.
Yes, and he said that you guys are never welcome back here. He didn't say it to me, but
He
you guys
seemed to have
sure.
forgotten that conversation.
I know. You know what it was? It's time makes the heart grow fonder.
So
That must be it.
if you recall Iden, like Iden was kind of like I have an intense feeling about this right now, and then later on would just be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
that's always whenever he had time to think about something, it would always click into I'm actually in control of this, and that's usually how he was handled. Like when Clackern died, it was kind of like a fuck, and then it was like well, we just gotta get out of this basement now. We just gotta get
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Said like, you shot the little kid. Like chase him down the whole fucking hill, misses him. Like, all right, I guess we're moving on later. Like whatever.
That didn't work.
Can't do anything. Like,
Oh, man, you gotta love Iden, right?
I really do.
moves on. He's a great character.
But
So
yeah,
good deal. Check it out. I hold up my little piece of paper. Plate armor right here, gentlemen.
Hawk, if you want to pull the plate armor that you had before out of the bag and start putting it back on.
I
That's fine.
definitely do. Walking around in my skivvies.
No, it's a good look for you. You should stick to that.
Okay. Tattoo boy.
Well, you don't.
Uh,
You actually wouldn't see those.
I wouldn't see them.
Yeah, they're underneath his. He
You,
kind of did
you
what
would think that he would take everything off and show it because he's a little bit that way.
Well-
No, this is my little secret.
if he wants to, he can. But what I'm saying is just like
Nope.
yeah, it wasn't intended for him to have shown him.
Oh, here's a very good question now. At least very good question that I would want to know about. Does this chalice allow me to regenerate a body part?
So read the. There should be a handout for it, but just for flavor's sake, I'll go ahead and just read it out loud. You've attuned to it by this point. You guys are spending some time with it, and you cast Identify. So you've actually learned a bit of lore about it, Zelbor. So you would know that the Chalice of Light was forged in blood and cinder during the earliest ages of Urs by a powerful entity known as a Lachey, and that Lachey was named Ithun. After it was created, it was magically split into 5 chalices at the request of the god Varquin, god of elves, when he cursed the Lachey Tovesh Nernon with the blood curse that you guys currently are afflicted by. Ithun's child, Jizix, was declared as the keeper of the chalices, and Ithun was bound to one of the 5 as its guardian. The other 4 were gifted to the houses of the 4 cursed offspring, and it was intended that they would be kept with the curse as it continued down the lines. Some were lost and others were kept. Legends about chalices have been told throughout the history of Parnac. Some say the curse of the bloody chalices was broken during the Third Age, which, if you've read The Curse of the Bloody Chalice, the book that I've handed out a couple of times, you would know that a person named Delarian Atele was under the impression that him and his group broke the curse after destroying Gyzix and bringing these cups together. The mere presence of the chalice is proof that the curse is obviously not broken. In the bottom of the cup, there are signs of staining in the gold, deep crimson stains from the failed attempt of those afflicted with the curse before you. The cup as it stands, it looks like it's covered with rubies, gold, and new gold, which is like jeweler's brass. And then at the stem of the cup has 4 women kind of arched back and hands up holding the cup. Yeah, while you are attuned to the chalice and have it on your person, your charisma increases by 2 to a maximum of 24. You have the abilities, these following abilities. Light of Being. While attuned to the chalice, you can use your action to cast Commune. When you do this, you roll a d6. On a roll of 1 through 5, you cannot do it again until the next dawn. Halo. While you have the chalice and are attuned to it, you gain a protective halo. The halo sheds light, as you guys saw when you were passing it back and forth. 10-foot radius, 10-foot dim light beyond that. You can dismiss the halo's light as a bonus action. While the halo is present, the halo gives you advantage on charisma persuasion checks made to interact with good creatures, and charisma intimidation checks to interact with evil creatures, such as, fiends and undead in the light attack you with disadvantage. You can cast spells with the chalice. You have to take the chalice out and handle it, but it has 7 charges, 1d4 plus 3 regain at dawn. If you are attuned to the chalice, you can cast the following spells. Cure Wounds costs 3 charges. Daylight costs 1 charge. Death Ward costs 2 charges. Regenerate costs 5 charges. You can also use an action to cast a Detect Magic spell from the chalice without using any charges. Last ability is called Sanguine Light. During a short rest, you can take damage, deal damage to yourself, to fill a chalice with your own blood. Anyone can then drink the contents and regain hit points equal to twice the amount of damage you took. So basically, during a short rest, you can give your hit points to give someone else twice as many. Additionally, you can expend other resources to fill a chalice as well. So you can put Bardic Inspiration uses, Channel Divinity uses, key points, lay on hand points, etc. And they have an HP equivalent as marked on the chart.
Whoa.
Very cool. So I have a question about like how you go about using that. Like, can you use it like in a combat if you had it, let's say, tied around your body and then like somebody was dying, let's say Hawk, for instance.
For
Let's say.
Never happened.
Right.
For the ability to cast spells out of it, you have to pull the chalice out and use it like an icon. For the ability to drain your own blood, that has to be done during a short rest because it takes time and kind of, filling and drinking. So it's not something that can be presumably done in the heat of combat.
Okay, so like if you put your blood into it, it doesn't like magically disappear until you go to use it.
Only during it can only be used during a short rest. If you aren't using the ability, the blood doesn't stay. It's basically the ritual is I take the damage, you drink the damage, great. And that's it.
Right. And you can't do it during combat. All right, that's
Right.
just what I wanted to know. Makes sense.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, I have to be totally honest here. When I read the Regenerate spell, I noticed there's one simple fact that we miss in this. It says you can regenerate a limb if you have its part. And my part was like turned into ash.
Correct.
So I don't know if that is like how you're going to rule that, but when I read it, I'm like, uh-oh, this is bad.
No,
It could be
yeah, so
harmless.
when I spoke, I did the classic John Dupre mistake of assuming things are as they were. The Regenerate spell is not as good as it used to be. In olden times, it used to be like Troll Regeneration. Or put something back on. Either way it works. But now it's just you put it back on. So yes, I apologize. You are handless.
I'm handless.
Well,
Okay.
wait. Hold on. You're talking about the 7th level regenerate spell, right?
Yes.
Okay, it says the target severed body members, if any, are restored after 2 minutes. If you have the severed part and hold the stump, the spell instantaneously causes the limb to stump. So
There you go.
can regenerate it.
Oh,
just takes time.
Okay.
It takes 2 minutes. If you have it, it instantly grabs.
All right. I misunderstood that then. I'm glad it's not as, because I was thinking I'm going to be handless in Seattle here.
No, yeah. If you spend 5 charges, cast regenerate, wait 2 minutes,
Sweet.
you would basically regain the arm or the hand.
Ta-da!
Does that
Yeah,
mean for like
basically-
the first 45 seconds he's got tiny little baby hand growing out?
Yes.
Tiny baby hand.
Just like a little tiny baby hand with little baby fingers, just
It-
like trying so hard to squeeze, but he can't because there's no muscle development yet. It's like, can you grab my finger yet, buddy?
It actually looks more like a fin because like the
Oh,
the
awesome.
fingers are kind of like pressed together, and you can just kind of see bony like appendages inside of this flipper like thing, and it's really tiny. Think of like the
Yeah.
penguin from Batman Returns is more
Thank God.
Nice.
So basically, you're saying he has one finger.
finger. Oh my god.
Who keeps letting him play? I don't understand.
He's
Why
swirling
do we
that
keep letting him
wine
come
in such a
back? Right? It's just like,
sophisticated-
goddamn.
The sophisticated wine and the bad puns. It's great.
It's why I break
You
him.
know you love me, Zach.
It's why
Yeah.
it's why I break him. I mean, I'm not gonna
Nice, nice interpretation of the spell, though, Matt. I'm glad you caught that because I got, of course, when I'm reading it.
I have read this spell so many times. I'm like, wait a second. No, you should be able to get back a lost limb. What's he talking about?
Yeah.
lie. Okay, I
What's he
apologize.
talking about?
I hate to be this guy, but if you go into the chat right now and you're subscribed, you can use my cool emoji. So
Done
awesome!
and done.
Oh my gosh,
Sweet.
it's real, you guys.
It is cool.
It's a little blood-faced mask. Oh. Ah. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue. Whatever. Do what you want.
Right. What were we doing?
Well, I know we were just talking about what we're going to do. I'm going to go to see the smith and ask him for some. I'm going to ask him just for regular plate armor because I think it may take a little bit of time to get something magical. So I guess I could ask him, see what he has. So I'm going to go do that. I don't know what you guys want to do. You guys, hey, why don't you come with me, Hawk? You might find something there. It's an armor, right? You never know.
I don't have any money for anything.
Yeah, but I don't know. We can see what he has. Maybe we can, offer him something. Maybe he's missing an arm.
Oh, also, just as a clarification, the armor that's now tattooed on my body, that does not stack with the leather armor, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. In which case, I'm going to go with these guys and sell my leather armor because my natural armor is now better.
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead.
I'm not going to sell it. I'm just going to have to take it off and. I'm
That's fine.
Thinking about in case it wears off, I want to have a spare set of armor.
Go
You
ahead.
real quick. Make an Arcana check.
I believe. Yes, I do.
What do you roll?
15.
So you would be intimately aware that this is not something that's going to go away soon, because what you realize is this is actually a portion of the curse.
Right. Well, I still want to keep a pair of armor with me.
No problem. Just in case you get Andied. I mean, what?
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 He's like looking over here. What?
Yeah, but the other thing I wanted to note too, you realize a couple of other things as you're kind of, inspecting the weird tattoo and kind of focusing in on that and studying yourself. You notice that the orb no longer just is idly floating, it's only idly floating when you're not paying attention to it. When you kind of look up at it to just look at it, it stops. When you kind of look over at something intently and kind of think about the orb, you realize that you can control the orb and its ability to go over something. It's no longer I have to be mad at something. It's I want to target that, and it goes to it and hovers around it.
Good to know.
And the other thing you notice too is that
I want to target Hawk. No, I'm kidding.
the thing would float on over to him immediately.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
But yeah, like it seems like you can kind of move it to where you want it now instead of it kind of going where your intentions or feelings drive it. Yeah, it's now an activatable ability, but it's done as a free action. And you would know that the benefit of it is anything that has it over its head, you have advantage on attacks against it, and it has disadvantage on saves against spells you cast.
Gotcha.
Oh man, that's so much cooler than my orb rolls behind me from 500 feet away.
Oh, no. So his is active now. Like before it wasn't active. Yours has an activator. Remember when you got it and it was the cursed part? Do you remember that fun
Yeah,
time?
no, I know. That's what I'm saying though, like even just floating around his head, so much cooler.
Fair enough.
I mean that in a joke way.
We haven't gotten to the air one yet. We'll see
I know,
how
I
it
gotta
goes.
fill in. We'll get there.
Hawk would want to know from
times.
Aiden what are the political happenings around Stormloft and outside.
Aiden's left your company, so
Okay.
you would know that he's kind of gone to go and deal with
All right, we
business.
could find him later.
Yep, he does have attendants
Yeah.
in the apartments if you want to address them and see if you can't learn from them.
Sure. So I'll ask
Who
them that same
is-
question.
Taking a long rest.
Okay.
I'm like really hurting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go back to the house that Funi and I were staying in to see if people are sleeping there and to kick them out.
Do you want some help with that?
I should be good on my own. I've still got plenty of spells.
Okay. When you get there, you can tell that there are people inside. There's a bit of smoke kind of wafting out of the windows. There was glass in the windows, but it's been kind of broken out. It looks like it's kind of just a mess of a place. And when you open up the door and look inside, there's about 5 people kind of just sitting in a circle in the center of the room. They appear to have some strange sort of device with hoses that are attached to it that go to each individual. And there seems to be smoke kind of wafting out of the hoses, and looks like a hot coal set on a bowl at the top of the device. You would recognize it as a hookah.
Yeah, I figured from the description that it was a go
Yeah.
or some variation thereof.
Right. Well, I forgot how party savvy Zelbor is. So yeah.
Yeah, Zelbor is rather party savvy, don't worry.
I don't know why I thought I was talking to like one of the.
You're not talking to Hawk.
I'm not talking to a guy in armor.
Formally.
Wow, Matt. Wow. Okay.
But
Well, I'm sorry. Did Hawk have crazy college days?
make a
No.
wisdom perception check for me.
So make a wisdom check.
That's the one. Still good enough, and like I said, you're pretty party savvy. You actually recognize by the smell of it. You would know that the drug that they are currently imbibing is a drug known as liquid pain or agony. It is pretty expensive, unless there's a common source or a maker of it. And from what you can tell, it doesn't look like any of these people would be the type to. It requires a spellcaster, an evil spellcaster, to create. You can see.
Hey, John.
Good.
Do you spice? Do you spice?
Do that.
Don't try to buy it from him.
So there's two females, and then there's 2 males. There's a 5th individual, which on first inspection, long hair, kind of ratty white hair. You think it's a female, but when you kind of look at him, actually, you see that it is a male. It looks like a very just emaciated and just gross-looking old man. And when you kind of focus on him just a little bit more, you recognize that it appears to be Cardiff. He opens his mouth into a smile, and you can see that most of his teeth are kind of broken out from his mouth.
Wow. It's like a meth house.
Yeah, it's like meth Cardiff.
Hello, everyone except for that person right there. Get the fuck out of my house, please.
They don't move.
Okay, so I'm going to pick one of them at random, and they're going to have to.
I'm not going to roll the dice because yeah, they turn into what do you want them to be?
Let's go with something slightly creepy, like a decent-sized rat.
It turns into a rat, and they all kind of look at it and go, ah, and they don't seem to move. And the Cardiff goes, I can do that. And he looks over at another one and points at them and says some magic words, but he's kind of like, ugh, and turns him into a rat. But he seems to have fucked the spell up. The rat's inside out.
Oh,
Oh, that's so gross.
like the Thing rat.
Cardiff, you might want to stop focusing on that one before they, die.
What? And you can see that he isn't focusing on it, but for some reason the spell persists.
Can I go over and slap him and make him try to make a concentration?
You walk over and
save?
just smack him right in the face. His teeth, a couple of them actually fly out, and you can feel and hear them shattering in his mouth. Like, yeah, they're that brittle. Just and like he's kind of bleeding out of his mouth, and as he kind of turns and looks back at you, the woman changes back, but she's inside out.
Oh man,
She's
that's
built.
a bad trip.
Huh?
That's a bad trip.
Oh yeah, it's nasty.
Well, there's not really much I can do about that.
The
Don't do drugs, children at home.
the dark atmosphere of the room, like you can kind of like feel like the lights, there's not too much, a little bit of sunlight from the broken windows, but it looks like they've kind of intentionally kind of moved the curtains or whatever to kind of keep the place dark. And as you're kind of like looking at him in his broken form, and his teeth are kind of like dribbling down his chin in bits, and there's blood kind of running down his face, you feel the room grow darker. And you see that shape from before, the one that impaled Cardiff, just reach out of the shadows behind him and grab his head. And he kind of, and then squeeze, and then just drop him. And the drugged out Cardiff lays there dead as well. The other three that are remaining kind of, and you can respond to this if you want as well.
Great. Now there's 2 dead bodies in my house.
We were supposed to kill Cardiff anyway, so maybe this is good.
As you reflect on this, the black form kind of drops back into the shadows, and you see this just beam of smiling white teeth just dip back into the shadows.
Kinda wish Malik was here to help with this.
We asked you.
I know. I thought I could take care of the hippies myself, but I wasn't expecting them to turn inside out and die.
The other three seem totally unaffected by the events. There's blood literally just laying out on the ground as the woman that was turned inside out, like her body is just kind of spasming and twitching because the body parts are still working for now, but she's definitely not alive. And
Yeah, no, I figured that. I'm going to just take the hookah and throw it out of the house and see if the rest of them go with it.
they chase it and they try and set it back up, but by that time you kind of probably shut the door behind you.
Oh, yeah, I've shut the door and locked it,
Okay.
and I'm just sort of standing there looking at this and sort of like, right,
If you-
I'm going to have to talk to Hawk or Aiden or someone about this, probably.
if you
and
give-
then I just...
If you give
Okay.
if you give the druggies a second of like just attention, you can see that they kind of look at the door and like, "Huh," and they start walking over to some alleyway.
I am not paying attention to the druggies at all. I'm just sort of look at the mess that's on the floor currently, decide I need someone to deal with this besides me, and then just go upstairs after the fuckery of the Cavern and the fact that Afune just up and left. And I'm going to see if I can either find a note, and if not, I'm just going to go to sleep.
Okay, you kind of as the black shadowy creature escapes or goes away, and as like you kind of reflect on everything, toss the thing out the door and shut it, you can feel like the room's a bit lighter now. Like that dark atmosphere just isn't the same. There is no residual from liquid pain. Like when you smoke it, you can't get a contact high. It has to be imbibed directly. So there's a bit of smoke lingering, and it's kind of sweet smelling, but it's not causing you to get weird. When you go around the corner to kind of look into the other rooms of the place, you come to find that your bedroom is actually filled with 4 more individuals, but these ones are actually strapped to the one of them strapped to the bed, another one's hog-tied and hanging from the ceiling, and it looks like they all have these weird wires and hoses attached to them that are also attached to a strange alchemy set. It looks like they're in the process of being something's being extracted from them. Make an Arcana check with intelligence.
This stage just keeps getting better and better for me, doesn't it?
It would seem that the drug that you kind of remembered, as you've been thinking about it, you know quite a bit about its creation. Liquid pain is basically taken.
Liquid pain.
It is exactly that, and it looks like this is not only has your house been turned into a drug den, it's also been turned into a drug factory.
Is there a way from that school, or like, is there a way that I could just start detaching hoses without like killing these people?
Yeah, with that roll, you basically take a bit of time and start removing them from the devices.
And I'm just going to do like a couple of bouts of heal wound on the people there, probably 3 first level and 1 second level, because I'm out of first level after 3.
After healing them and kind of like making sure they're okay, they don't come to, they don't retain consciousness. It seems that they've been put under by something else. And when you kind of start looking around at the hoses and looking at the stuff, you see that there are a number of vials kind of around where the creation process, the finalization process is. And the devices are, I'm sorry, the vials that I mentioned are labeled, and it says night night sleep time. And it looks
That's
like
wonderful.
it looks like it's written in Cardiff's kind of sketchy hand.
I'm just going to grab one of the vials, cast Identify, and after I know, I'm probably going to go out and see if I can find
Seems to be
someone with more authority than me.
Sure. It seems to be some sort of magical poison that basically causes someone to become unconscious.
Wow.
Okay, I'm actually going to hide those vials.
I'm gonna
somewhere.
take those. I'm gonna keep them.
Yeah, I'm going to take those, and then I'm going to find someone and show them the. Well, I'm going to try to find Aiden if I can.
Okay. So
and get him to help me clean up my place without me getting in trouble.
as you get the stuff in your pocket and start heading out the door, we cut to Hawk. You were going to engage with some of the attendants to try and figure out a bit more about the political environment here in the city.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have them actually summon Aiden, that would be better still. But if he's not available, that's fine.
How do you refer to him?
How do I refer to him as Duke Adalbert?
Okay. You said summon Aiden. Just want to be sure. They say he has gone to council. He is not summonable at this time. Former Captain Hawk, I apologize. However, I should be able to assist you, and if you'd like, I can take you to the council chambers. You can be my guest.
Yeah, so I thank him and accompany him, and I have a couple of questions for him.
It's a her.
Her.
Yep, sorry.
Great.
I was trying to do my serious businesswoman voice. I'm not a voice actor. I'm not very good at it.
No worries.
She.
Oh my gosh, you did not just mix up my gender.
She.
I don't know why I went with that.
Could just
I don't
use the
either.
they. They is a good one to use.
Fair enough, fair enough. But she leads you to the court. And if you ask her about the current political environment, she tells you that the Commonwealth has taken a bit of control here. Duke Adalbert, obviously a representative. The Barbagezi Prince, also a representative of the Commonwealth. And they are apparently swaying another member of the Council of Lords, Duke Von Dreyens, who's the main military presence for the Kingdom of Stormloft. They would say that most of the conflicts on the eastern border have been ignored at this point, as the armies of the Lords have been migrating from the eastern border of Stormloft to the western border of Stormloft and are making their way into Aegon, the Aegon Kingdom, to strengthen the borders of Aegon and Sorrowgate, because apparently Sorrowgate has been lost in the last 3 months.
I wonder why. Her.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She says she doesn't know much about what has happened to Sorrowgate, other than their forces are growing much more than they think is naturally possible. And she kind of like, as a bit of a historian, says we haven't seen a rise in conflict like this since the Crimson Coven so long ago. And you kind of think about it, trained in history, you would know that back in like the Third Age, late Third Age, before the Grey War, there was a group of vampiresses and witches that called themselves the Crimson Coven. The house that ruled them was House Crimson, and they caused a lot of problems for a lot of their neighbors in Marischal Kingdom, which is now Rostagar. But yeah, the reason why their armies grew back then was because of undead.
Yeah. So Hawk puts on his best poker face and says, "Oh wow, that's very interesting."
Who would have? Wow, that's so
Hawk
crazy.
don't give a damn.
Actually, he does give a damn. He feels bad about it.
Are you
Go ahead.
are you alone, or is anybody else in the company, Boo or Malik, going with him?
Nah, I told you I was going.
He
along.
rested,
Like,
and
I
then
went
the-
right to bed. Or
I
Okay.
was gonna go see the
meditate.
Smith. So
Got it. I remember. Okay. So
So I have additional questions, but you can continue. If
go
you
with your
want.
questions.
So I wanted to switch topics and just out of character to the rest of the group. You might remember that we encountered Groose before we went into this dungeon, and Groose was going to go to the Coldbeer Mountains,
Good point.
and go after the Dias Vectra sword. And that was months ago, and I was wondering what's the deal with Groose. And then I would ask that.
Sure.
good idea.
Cold Beard, and she would say that Groose was has returned. He then left again. He said upon coming back to Duke Adalbert that the sword was not in Digram, and Donovan Adalbert, Lord Adalbert, had stated that he would do what he could to find them. I do not find the sword. I do not know what's happened since then, but Groose has been about the city, and I believe he is taking up residence in the apartments, so he should be back by nightfall. If you stay there as well, you should see him.
So for the rest of the group, that would definitely be my first priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would go with. Are you still going with her to the council chambers, though? The council or the council lords?
So this is what would be the purpose of that? Just because the Duke is there?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like you were trying to do.
That's where Duke is.
But if you indicated that she would have all the basic information that the
Yeah.
Duke would have, then I'd be fine.
Okay.
So okay.
You're just gonna hang out then. That's
Yeah.
fine. Then while you're kind of sitting with her and talking, you see the doors open and in walks this female. She has hold on a second here. Kind of like a dark purplish colored skin, horns on her head. One of her horns seems to have been broken and replaced with another creature's kind of horn. Very strange indeed.
Is this the?
She wears very fine plate armor. On her left pauldron, there is the emblem of a rose kind of just carved into the pauldron. And at her side, she has a sword very similar to your sword. She kind of looks at you as she enters in and she says, "You are Captain Hawk, are you not?"
Hawk says yes. That's quite a sword you have there.
To you as well. I found mine in well beneath the earth. And you found yours.
In my pants.
Oh, Matt. Jing jing. What was the general location where we found the sword?
You found yours underneath the Tome of Derlithoth in the Deborah Woods.
So I would say the Deborah Woods.
She kind of nods her head.
Yeah.
And Groose out in the plains. Interesting. She kind of shrugs and she says, "I apologize. Rudeness. My name is Typha. Typha Damikos. I am
Oh, wow.
one of the companions of the Order of the Bloody Rose. And you are Captain Hawk. I've heard a bit about you from Duke Adalbert.
Yes, no longer captain, but Hawk, yes.
Right, I am the captain of the guard now."
Oh, ouch.
She
Former Captain Hawk.
She kind of shrugs and says, "It has been an interesting effort to try and replace you, but the only reason I was able to take the position was because of the good word of Grus. He assisted me and a couple of fellows up in the mountains."
Well, you might know then that my goal is to find the other swords.
I'm aware. That is what Grus is engaging to do right now. He spent the last couple of 6 days searching out as much information as he can with the assistance of Duke Adalbert. And I believe he's in the marketplace, the Grand Bazaar, right now.
Would you lead on?
Unfortunately, I've come here for a purpose, and I must remain. However, if you wish to go to the Grand Bazaar, it's just outside the castle.
Very well, Taifa. I hope we meet again.
Likewise. And she stands there in the apartments and kind of looks to the attendant, and the attendant kind of seems to be waiting for something. You can hear her rustling in the back offices in the apartments if you leave.
Okay. And would I have a sense of what that rustling is, whether it's a person or...
You actually have like a bit of a flashback. You recall, like, when you were the captain of the guard, you would have to basically partition wages, basically make sure that all of the guards who are currently serving were paid. So you would have to go to the council, and one representative of the council would be engaged as treasurer for whatever month you were in, and you would assume that current month Albert is the person. So her attendants are probably getting those wages together for Taifa to dispense.
Super. So then Hawk would head down to the marketplace, seek out Malik, and then together look for Grus.
If you recall, Malik is actually in the castle, remaining in the castle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is.
I thought you were getting the armor.
He is
Yeah, but I might
from the
go to
smith. Yeah.
castle. Right.
Okay, so you start heading off. All right. A while ago, Malik actually made his way down into the Bailey. You can see that there are several of the guardsmen, the high guard of the council, currently engaged in drills. Very, very like top tier kind of work here. It's not just people batting at each other with wooden swords and whatnot that you'd see in a normal Bailey. They appear to be engaged with raw steel and seem to be kind of working at defensive tactics. You would see that there is a blacksmith kind of set in the Bailey off to the side, and there is a man kind of bashing at steel on an anvil. It looks like he is currently kind of shaping a flat sheet of steel as you kind of approach.
I would say, hail. My name is Malik, and I'm here. I have a writ of credit from the Duke Adalbert, and I need to get my
a writ of
Yes.
credit. Well,
Well,
I
assume it's called.
Let me see your paper.
I would hand it to him.
Takes-
That's what we would call it back in my homeland.
Takes the paper and looks at it. Okay, I'm just supposed to make whatever you want based on the council or the Lord's request. What are you, one of his guardsmen or something?
In a way, I'm an old friend.
What do you need?
I need a set of plate mail. I have been wearing this set of chain, which has been helpful to me for a long time, but I think I need to graduate up to something a little bit better, like plate mail.
As you're saying that, he's kind of walking over to away from the forge, just leaving the hot sheet of steel just kind of lingering on the anvil. Walks over to what looks like a just soot-covered like desk, pulls open a drawer, and pulls out this very narrow scarf that seems to be kind of sectioned off in a bunch of different colors. Shuts the thing, walks over to you, and you can see that there's a bit of soot in the scarf as well, but whatever material it's made out of seems to be a bit flame resistant. He walks over to you and he says, lift your arms up.
All right.
And it seems to be kind of walking around you with a scarf and taking your measurements with it. Probably something that you've never done really. Most things that were made in the trackless culture were made, not to order. Like this apparently seems to be the case. They were kind of taken and refitted. But he takes your measurements and says, full plate or half plate?
Full, please.
Fair enough. I can have it done in a day.
Ooh, that is awesome. I will put in a good word for you with the Duke.
Oh, I don't
and
need
tell
it.
him how greatly you assisted me.
I don't need it. The only reason this castle functions is because of me.
I don't doubt it.
Fair enough. Anything else you need? Sword, shield?
You don't happen to have anything magical around here, do you?
I don't do much of the magic. I suppose I could send a missive over into the Barbagezi Prince. He might be able to assist. What do you want?
You know, I don't. Magic shields are good. I know magic plate mail. I'm not really expecting you to be able to find something like that. But
Well, your notice is specifically for me to build you a suit of armor or whatever you need. If you want magic added to it, that can happen after the process. So just tell me what you want me to make for you, and if you can get a hold of that Evendrin, Lord Evendrin, then you can go ahead and have him do what he needs to do. But yeah, I don't really do much of the magic thing. He kind of walks over to the plate that's sitting on the anvil and just has a set of tongs pretty much from nowhere and just flings it over to the ground. It kind of just lays there smoldering and says, like I said, I'll have it done in a day. I'll have it for you at dawn tomorrow.
all right, I will let you get at it then. I appreciate it.
Fair enough. I'll just add, and you see him kind of walk over to a chest and kind of flick it open with his tongs and kind of reaches in and grabs like 3 or 4 ingots and starts, putting them into the fire to heat. And you head up. All right. You sleep, Boo. So that happens. Let's go back.
Wake up, you feel well rested.
Let's go back to drug stopper McGruff over here. You exit out of the house and start kind of looking around, trying to find someone who could assist you with this and possibly get in contact with Aiden or something to that effect. Do me a favor and just make me a good old-fashioned charisma check. You're not having a lot of luck, and you're drawing a bit of attention, but you haven't dropped your hand. Just people know that you're kind
There's
of.
a bunch of drug dealers in my house. I need.
You haven't gone to that regard.
I forgot that.
Yeah, but you do kind of get a bit of attention drawn to you, and a couple of guards kind of eventually come up to you and say, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere? You match the description of somebody I've been told about." The other guard says, "Oh,
Tall, attractive.
I remember. Yeah, you were the guy that stabbed that dude in the neck like 3 or 4 months ago."
That's right.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure that was
At all.
him. We don't see too many red tieflings around these parts.
Nice.
Where were you 3 months ago?
I was stuck in a dungeon.
For stabbing someone in the neck?
No, I was stuck in a dungeon trying to recover an item so that we can do something called, saving the bloody world.
What's your name?
Zelbor, what's yours?
My name's Jim.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Fair enough. We're going to go ahead and take your name, and we're going to ask some questions. And if one of the investigators, one of the magistrates, wishes to speak with you, where can we find you?
You can find me in the house where there's apparently some sort of drug thing going on because I've been missing it for the past 3 months and someone decided to use my house for that. So can someone give me a hand cleaning it up?
Take us to the house.
I will. And I take them to my house.
Yep. They follow with you, and a couple of guys.
Here's the room where a bunch of people died, and there's more people upstairs that they were using to extract pain for that stupid thing.
They go.
I don't know.
They go, "This is where it's all been coming from. We've been seeing a bit of a problem with this. Well, you'll be greatly rewarded. There was actually a reward for any information on this. This matter."
Glad I could help.
Yep. He quickly scrawls something out and hands it to you after putting kind of like a bit of a weird seal at the bottom with ash, really just charcoal. And then he kind of hands that to you and says, "Take that to the magistrate."
Okay.
Do you look it over?
Yes, I do. Just
This individual will claim the reward for information regarding the distribution of illegal substances in the Northrond district. The reward total of 10,000 gold pieces will be dispensed to one Zelbor, and then it's signed, and then the charcoal seal was imprinted at the bottom. It appears to be his guard's mark, basically his badge.
okay.
This is your rags to riches story.
All right, you wander over to the magistrate. We'll go ahead and cut from you. We'll go back to
Yeah.
Hawk. You head into the Grand Bazaar looking around for Groose. Go ahead and make a wisdom perception check.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you see him, young lad. Looks like he is talking to two people. One of the people has a very large back banner coming off of his back and is wearing attire of the Seiryu province. He has a straw hat, a conical straw hat over his head, and several bags kind of attached to his sash of a belt. And the other individual that's with him just appears to be a very confident young swordsman. If I recall correctly, you've seen these individuals before. They were in Hilton. You would know. I don't know if you would know.
Is it Kenji?
Kenji, correct. Kenji Toru and his associate.
Okay. I would sort of pay attention to my sword for a moment and sort of think about and look at Groose. Anything it would note, like anything off, and
No, yeah. I mean, the sword seems to be kind of pleased when it definitely had a weird sense of elation when you met with Taifa, and now it seems to have kind of a feeling of like renewal, or like you guys had met once before while he had the sword, and now it's kind of like, my friend, we're back together again kind of feeling.
Got it. Great. So I would approach Groose and greet him. Hail, Groose.
Groose kind of nods at you. Kenji kind of looks at you and he says, "You look familiar. Don't I know you from somewhere?"
Stormloft.
You
perhaps?
stabbed someone in the neck 3 months ago. Everyone.
No.
I feel like I'm being.
What?
It cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
You're being what?
I said I feel like I'm being prejudiced against for simply trying to murder someone in an alleyway.
Red
I
skin,
know.
red skin tieflings, man. Anyway,
Can we speak for a moment in private?
he kind of looks around, and you can see that you're kind of surrounded by a lot of people. If you meet under the ears of him, if he wants to know, he's going to find out. Groose says, and Tora kind of gives you just this.
Okay, fair enough. So I did meet Taifa, and I learned of your efforts to find Vectra in the Coalbeards, and that didn't bear fruit.
The sword that Taifa wears at her hip is Vectra.
Where was that located, if not the Coalbeards?
It was in the Coalbeard Mountains, according to Taifa's account. She said that it was inside of an old fortification built in a dwarvish city. And you're kind of thinking about it for a second, and you recall the name of the city. You should recall the name of the city.
Is that Digram?
Chris nods.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. So what is the status of your search for additional swords?
He kind of looks over to Kenji. Kenji kind of looks to you and says, well, I've seen a blade just like the one that your friend here has and that you seem to have. The blade was black. It was being used by a highwayman.
Are you there?
Yeah, that was it. It was he said I saw.
Used by a highwayman.
He was by a highwayman.
Where and when?
Between the cities of Jether and Bruce to the east.
And how recently?
Oh, we came up from Rostagar Kingdom and we made our way through Jether because we know that it's pretty quiet. You would recall that about maybe 2.5 years ago, Jethro was sacked by a frost giant, and we were met on the road. He didn't assault us. He had his hands full with other individuals, and we're not the heroic type. He kind of looks over to his friend and then looks back to you.
So, did you say a year ago?
Oh, no. Sorry. We just arrived maybe a month and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
So probably 2 or 3 months ago, the blade was seen.
Yeah, that's the trail is cold. Would Hawk know which of the remaining blades might be the black one?
Umbra.
Okay, the gray one. It's right.
Yeah. You assume that it was probably a dark gray.
Okay. Okay. So Hawk then looks to Groose and says, "Well, do you have any leads on this?"
Unfortunately, I've been kind of wandering about trying to find what I can information-wise. And my attempts to get any information through wizardry have not been fruitful. The Barbagezi Prince will not see me, nor will he see anyone for that matter. And that's the only wizard I would know who would be able to find something like that. I did try your friend Cardiff, but he was out of his mind staying up in that house that your friends were in, and I left him to do what he was doing.
Are you suggesting that there's something off with the prince?
I suggest that he is just keeping to himself.
Have you talked to Hoppler about this?
I have not. Who is Hoppler?
He's a local historian who seems to know quite a lot about artifacts.
Unfortunately, I was not made aware of the existence of this person. He kind of shrugs.
He's on my list of people to see, and if I learn anything, I will let you know.
If you would like, I can accompany you since my business here is completed.
Sure.
He, nods his head, and Kenji kind of says, ah. And he kind of raises his hand out like this. And then Groose kind of hands him a small bag and walks away with you.
Okay. Great.
All right. Malik, you kind of, finish in the courtyard. You see what you see, and you can hear that the metal's being slammed about. If you stay for a little while, you can see him very quickly shape a portion of the plate very quickly.
I think I am going to just come back tomorrow because, sometimes you don't want to see how the sausage is made. You
Sure.
just want to have the sausage.
There you go.
So I think I'm going to head up to, plus, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't.
Yeah, he appears to know what he's doing.
Yeah, he doesn't even gawking at
Yeah.
it. So I'd go back up to my room. I guess I would rest too then and wait to maybe the next day, we would all get together and figure out what's going on. I know I would know Boo was up resting, so I would go up to my room and rest.
Okay. Boo probably took a place like in the cushions and is probably sitting in the lotus position in a trance, I presume. Yeah. And then as you're kind of walking up to the main entrance of the apartments, you see a woman with kind of, purplish skin kind of walking past you, a tiefling. Basically the description I already gave Andy, walking past you. She has a large sack in one hand and is kind of walking past you, and she gives you a nod.
I would say, Hail, my name is Malik. What's yours?
My name's Taipa, and unfortunately I have pressing matters. I must be on.
Wow.
She kind of stops for a second and says, Malik, you are a traveling companion of Hawk, is that right?
Yes.
Very good. She nods and she starts heading along her way.
A strange, odd that one is.
She
I
would-
would think to myself.
She would have countered your introduction of yourself with her. If I didn't do it, I don't remember. It's been a whole 10 seconds since then. But she would have announced herself as Typha Damikos of the Order of the Bloody Rose.
All right. She looked a little bit busy, but
Yeah, but she was very cordial though. She did address herself and her title. She's very thorough in that regard. But yeah, you go into the apartments. You see Booze chilling out, Max and relaxing, all cool. There are two attendants in the room. One looks like she's kind of at a desk, kind of writing at some things in an office just off the side of the apartment, and the other one appears to be kind of setting out a bit of just dried food. And she looks to you and she says, "Feel free to have anything you'd like, Lord Malik."
all right. I guess what I would probably do is walk by the table and see if there's anything that looks like vaguely like I could choke it down, because I know, I'm not too into this food from these people, but
It's a lot of salted river fish and several series of vegetables, some sort of stock vegetable, and looks like actually a couple of fruits, some like a tomato and apples.
all right. I guess I would try to choke some of that down, and then I would go and I'd probably just flop down on a bed. Not just saying that because I'm a mer person or anything.
Okay, flop Magikarp style onto the bed.
Yes.
And as you're kind of relaxing there, you kind of feel like the halo just kind of pulsing, and it's kind of making it a bit hard for you to sleep. You also feel like the chalice is like really warm in your pouch.
All right, and then what I would probably do then is, I don't want to do this if there's a bunch of people watching, but if there's nobody around, I would probably be like, all right, I'm just dying to do this now. So I would bleed into the cup,
Okay.
and then I'd go and wake up Boo and be like, hey, dude, I got some. Try this. It's supposed to be good for you.
Boo, you are awakened from your reverie,
I'm gonna freaking wake.
and he is
this up.
handing you a chalice with blood in it.
Here, drink this. I want to see what it'll do. It should heal you.
How many hit points are you damaging yourself with?
I'm gonna put 64 in the cup.
Oh,
Cut off your leg.
okay.
Cut off my leg. So
We discussed out loud what the chalice does. Yes or no?
Yeah, it was explained.
Then yeah,
by
I'll
someone.
take it.
You
Yeah,
you're-
I figured as much.
You're fully healed.
you get
Fuck
120. What would you get? 122? Is my
100. You
math
said
right?
64.
128.
128 hit points back. Yeah.
I've only got 117.
Sweet.
You are
That is so awesome.
Set to full.
Then I would just heal myself and be like, I'm going back to bed. Sorry, I woke you up. Flop back on the bed.
All right. The cup still feels warm in your hand as you put it away, and it feels warm in your pouch. And you also have the halo, which is still glowing over you.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now I'm just being tempted too much. This thing is just tempting me.
Do you want to
Now
switch
I'm
off the nightlight? Like, yeah.
Before I go to bed, I'm going to cast Commune and see if I can get some answers from Nermode.
Okay.
This is going to be fun because I don't know what I'm going to ask her, but I'm just going to make it up on the spot.
Perfectly fine. So you are using the commune ability of the chalice. Is this before or after? Well, actually, Boo's attentive anyways. He's still in just a trance. As you cast commune, roll a d6 for me real quick.
Right, I got to find out how long it takes to
Well, yeah.
use it. All that fun stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Is that working? Oh, we'll see. Did that work?
don't
Nope. Let me... Oh, yeah, it did. It worked twice. Can I take the first one? I don't know if high is good or bad.
6 will actually cause it to not. It doesn't count as a casting, so you still have a use of it.
That's fine.
Okay, so you cast it from the chalice, and you are kind of praying to Nermode, but what you receive is not quite an entity of your god, goddess rather. The cup starts to spill out. Blood starts to flow out of it and bubble up and form into a female's form before you, and then it kind of takes on like bad CGI from the movie Blade. It goes from blood to a person, and it's a woman, stark ass naked, with long reddish, I would say kind of ginger hair, and she appears to have very long elvish ears, and her hands are solid black, and the blackness kind of goes up her wrists a bit in weird kind of like it looks like she dipped her hands in ink, and it's stained. She kind of looks to you and she says, "You are the holder of the chalice, Malik. I am Athun. What do you wish to ask me? What do you wish to have illuminated before you?"
Did you say her name was Asun, like ASUN?
Ethun.
I know that name.
ASSUNE.
Yes, I know that name. You're the keeper of the chalice.
The chalice in the palace?
Yes, I would say first off, something has been troubling me all these years. I would like to know if Rayella is healthy and alive. That was the woman that I used to love before I left my homeland.
She did.
She'd be dead.
She is deceased,
Oh man.
and she kind of
Okay, I guess I should.
nods her head. She has
I
been
should have
dead
started with a
for
different one.
5 years now.
Really? Is that what she says? 5 years?
About when you left.
Okay. Oh gosh. All right. It didn't end well. All right. Maybe I wish I hadn't known, but I know I can't unask that now. All right. I would ask, is Kavat in power back home? He's the
No,
asshole I left for.
No.
reason I left.
he
Oh,
has.
God.
He has been. He is not in power.
All right, that's good to know. Now I feel a little bit better. Even though the love of my life has died. I get one final one. Do
You can still
think-
cast it again today, though.
That's true. I could, but I would say, do me and my companions stand a chance against the worm that walks?
Nice.
The answer to your question is unclear to me.
Uh-oh. Okay. I think we need to get more powerful.
She says, "You've asked your 3 questions, and I must return to whence I come. But if you wish, I can answer 3 more for you today."
I think I'm
It'll
gonna
just
wait.
cost you your arm.
It'll just cost you-
I think I'll wait till I talk to my friends. You know.
She says, "Very good." And she says, "As a final bit of this communion, I must ask you to drink the contents of the cup."
All right, I'll do it.
Okay.
This is like a dare.
You drink the blood, and as you do so, she kind of like vanishes. Like it's basically like she becomes like steam and then dissipates. But you drink the contents of the chalice, and the blood that you're tasting is very thick and very just kind of just vibrant. It doesn't have the normal coppery kind of taste, aftertaste that's present in blood. I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah, that's irony. Or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
I meant irony. Why did I say coppery? Anyways,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't have that kind of aftertaste. It just tastes kind of vibrant and
Does
rich.
it taste like Zelbor's blood?
Oh.
How do you know that?
Shh, don't tell anybody.
It tastes better than Zelbor's blood.
Zelbor's a very heavy sleeper.
Yeah, Zelbor's a heavy sleeper. I'm bleeding him a little bit each night.
So creepy.
Disturbed now. I'm going to change my locks.
Yeah, you asked.
The day after the drug
I-
dealing.
Boo, this is all, I mean, this is all things that you've just watched. He basically summoned some sort of woman from the cup. And yeah, you would understand, the lore behind it.
I wanted to kind of keep it like I didn't want to do it out in the open. So, but he may have seen it anyways if I was off of the side.
There really isn't anywhere you can kind of
Yeah.
go in the apartments that gives it some
Bummer.
to secrecy.
No privacy. At least I had my own room when I was staying with Zelbor.
I mean, it's still there for you.
True.
Right. This is the part of the movie where Boo pulls out a cigarette, lights it up, goes, "That was weird."
Yeah.
Okay. Zelbor, you and the cops enter into the house. and kind of go through it. Several more guards have been called to the place, and now there's about 15 of them that are kind of circling around the place. And they say, this is beyond ours, and the magistrates are here. And you can see that there are a couple of people who are differently dressed than these guys, but they're still guardly dressed, and that are kind of going through everything, making sure everything's being handled correctly, and they're taking questions from the people who have now become resuscitated. Yakety Sax is playing in the background, and
Don't come back.
eventually, as you're kind of standing there, they do ask you a couple of questions. You kind of explain to them, how you came to see what was there, and then a couple more guards enter into the place, and they are accompanied by another guard, apparently a guard captain. She is kind of purple-skinned, horns of a tiefling. She has one horn that looks like it's been broken off and replaced with the horn of another creature. You can make an Arcana check to see if you can identify the other horn. And she wears, very ornate armor with a rose on the end there. The creature that looks like the horn is the cap end of a black dragon's horn that she's kind of bolted onto the remnant of her old horn.
Did you kill the dragon, or did your friends do it?
You kind of say that to her as she's coming into the room. She says, "It was mostly my companions, but I was there, and I needed the replacement. And you are?"
Zelvor.
And she looks over to one of the guards. "Oh, he's already given his statement, ma'am. It's his house. He's been gone for a while, and they seen that their people were squatting, and they set up the establishment. It's probably why we couldn't find it." And she kind of nods to the guard. The guard goes back to his duties, and she says, "Kind of a horrible thing to come back to. However,
A little bit.
I do recognize the estate's name. It belongs to you and another individual, correct?"
Yes, she's currently not here. Apparently left about a month ago, someone said. So,
"Yes, and we've been having this problem for a couple of months now. Do you know where she's gone to?"
I haven't found a note, but I haven't really necessarily looked for one yet. I mean, coming back and finding that your house has been to drug den / drug dealership place, kind of a bit of a shock and not necessarily conducive to searching for notes from loved ones.
She snaps her fingers as you finish your sentence. The guy she was just talking to kind of looks back over at her, and she says, "Any missives or notes that are found on the premises, please be sure to bring them to my and the homeowner's attention. Thank you." And they go, "All right, no problem, Gov." And she kind of looks to you and she says, "I also recognize that your name is Zelvor, based on the notes. You are one of Captain Hawk's company, is that correct?"
Yes, I am. I'm the entertainment.
Yes, you are.
Fair enough. "My name is Typa Damikos. I am the new captain of the watch since he's been gone, as you have. So your story checks out. You are not held here by any means. You can leave this place as you will. If you take anything off of the premises, please just be sure to notify my guardsmen so that they can make sure that there is no evidence that could lead back to this Ifuna.
Right.
We do want to..."
I'm going to go and grab my loot collection then.
Fair enough.
I have one loot, by the way.
Right. They, from what you can kind of gather as to what she's saying, Ifuna isn't. She's just a person of interest. It doesn't. They don't think that
Right.
she's the person. It seems like about the time it started to kind of build up, she left. It's kind of weird. So.
Right. I kind of figured that was probably what they were leaning towards.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to do in the house, or are you heading out?
Well, I mean, I wanted to take a nap, but I feel like that's been kind of squashed. So, you know what? I'm actually going to just go outside and be like, I'm going to talk to the captain and be like, "All right, if you need me, I will be in the mansion, literally right outside the..." And I'm going to go outside and I'm going to cast my magnificent mansion for once, and I'm not in a freaking trans-dimensional thing without knowing it, so it'll work.
The mansion
I'm
appears.
just going to go in there and go to sleep.
The mansion appears before you. What does it look like?
Well, I mean, literally the outside looks like just a door.
Right.
It's literally just a door, and I can choose who can see it.
Fair enough.
The inside is ridiculously elaborate. Purples, reds all around.
Think Liberace.
Many pictures of me, very large, few clothing.
Hold on. So the point of my question, I wanted to make sure that something's understood. You said that I'll be inside my mansion, go outside, create a door, and then go into it. My question was, what does the door look like? Is it elaborate and just like gaudy and just awesome looking? Or is it...
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to... I know you can make it invisible. I didn't think you were going to, because you asked someone to, give it a knock at a do. So, yeah, like, okay. So she's seen...
Oh, no, it's like a purple door, and it's got just like the most elaborate drawing of basically like it's like one of those Fabio book covers, but with Zelbor and Efune. And Zelbor is buff, like he's ridiculously buff on the front of this thing, and that's what the door looks like.
Make me a charisma performance check, real quick.
Charisma performance.
Spot on. It looks exactly like you've stated it. No I mean, the etching is flawless. It's real to life. And you go inside. She kind of looks at you with as you're kind of entering into your door. You can just kind of feel her eyes on you, like, what the fuck? And you go in, and the door shuts behind you. All right. At that moment, Hawk, you have made your way up to Havel Boulevard, which the Museum of the Basrael sits on. You make your way up to it. The sign says it's open, and it doesn't look like there's very many people, around and about. It looks more like just a strange old house in a residential area, as you noted before. You open up the door, and it's completely just empty, but there are torches lit, or rather lanterns lit, and seems completely quiet. But you hear a ching ching as you enter in, the doorbell ringing.
But nothing looks like it's been disturbed or just yeah.
Everything looks exactly where it needs to be.
Okay.
There are some additional, like, when you enter in, it's just like a wide open entryway, a foyer with two stairwells that go up, right? And you can see the doors that go into the back area where certain Cardiffs blinked off to chase certain Idens that were trying to escape into the shadows some time ago. But yeah, there were glass cases that were in the foyer, basically attractions for the museum with like little placards explaining what was in them. You can see that a couple more have been added in, and it looks like he's kind of set them into like cubes, like square areas rather, not cubes, square areas that look like they all have their own kind of things to them, and the center one in each of them appears to be a staff or rod rather with a different colored gemstone. You would recognize them as the eyes of Derlithoth.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which you know that one of them is probably real, but the other three probably aren't because they weren't recovered. If you kind of go about and look at them, it does say replica on 3 of the 4. And eventually, the boring part of a museum is that it's a museum. You and Groose kind of stand there for a while, and eventually Hoppler comes in and he says, it's just you. Well, I presume you're not wanting the tour.
No, so Hawk would greet him and say, looks like you've been busy, referring to the new cases.
I've made a couple of trips back out to the Tome of Derlithoth. I've also made a couple of trips out to underneath Stormloft Castle, but you already know about that. We talked about that a while ago.
Yeah, that's right. As a matter of fact, we've just returned.
Wait, were you down there?
We were, for longer than we originally thought. It's been months.
Interesting.
So this is my friend Groose and I, so I'd introduce Groose, are looking for more clues about the whereabouts of these swords, and we sort of point to the sword at my side.
Well, those are Elvish. I don't know anything about those. Kind of shrugs. I apologize. I specialize in Vasriel culture. Where did you find them?
So we would both explain where we found them.
So you found it in the Tome of Derlithoth?
That's right.
Beneath it? strange.
And then he would describe the horror that he fought in order to get the sword.
The six-armed Fey woman. He kind of looks down at his notes. Or he kind of looks down at like the ground. He doesn't have his notes out, and he kind of like wanders back into the back of the. He just kind of looks at you and kind of just heads off and away from you. I'll be right back.
Hawk looks at Groose and says, "He does this. It's okay."
He kind of returns to you, and he's kind of flipping through a book, and he says, "Six-armed Fey woman, like the ones on the etchings." Like the ones on the etchings, right? And he kind of pulls open his book, and he's kind of flipping through. Do you mean to say her? And he kind of leans into you and shows you this.
Oh, cool. It's a Hawk would nod, right? Yeah.
You fought her? Huh. He starts writing notes. There was a number of depictions of this in an old fort just east of the city, not too far away. It's been reworked into a watch post for the castle, or for the city rather. It's known as Raven's Watch. It was one of the first places that I investigated, and it had a number of these etchings on it. If I recall correctly, too, there was also one of these similar etchings on the door above the cistern, where that creature you unlocked exited from. How strange.
What would that be a reference to, John?
Remember when you were in that room that filled with water, the cistern, and you left
okay.
Poplar there by himself as you guys tried to figure out.
Right.
That door had the six-eyed beholder, or the four-eyed beholder, and over the top of the beholder was the six-armed woman with her blades. And he kind of goes through his book again, kind of flipping through it, and he says, "Yes, it was definitely her, the fair woman. She's been mentioned a couple of times in the histories. It is said that, well, you know of the warring tribes of the Vasriel, the Derlathothi, the Ashmodeans, the Karmusins, and the Svenins, correct?
Okay.
Well, it would seem that they all destroyed themselves, but there was a winner in the end, and they were lost to history, and not much is known, but as we've investigated more, it does seem that there is this fifth party that engaged with them, this elvish grouping. But I don't know anything about these elven people, or elvish people, that were engaged in the warring tribes' time. This elvish enclave, it had to have brought down at least one of them. But according to what I know, Svenin defeated the Derlathothi. But according to that door, it looked like Derlathoth was brought low by the elvish fair woman. That is one thing that's been puzzling me for a while, Hawk. How many of these swords do you suppose there are?
I believe there are 7, and he would refer to Ragnall's Grove as sort of evidence of that. The 7 saints?
Yes, but that doesn't match up. She only has 6 arms. Where would the 7th blade come in? If these swords are associated with the elvish enclave that destroyed the tribes, then, well, perhaps. It might be so, but I don't understand the purpose of the 7th blade, and why the fair woman has 6. Like I said, I'm not very skilled in elvish lore, but it sounds like I must start brushing up on my histories. Apparently they're intertwined.
Could the 7th blade be the combination of all 6 together?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not terribly keen on those histories. And I know that during the War of Sword and Serpent, the elves were the sword. And swords are very important in their culture. It's said that the art of sword play and the crafting of the sword was initially created by the elves. So I suppose there's some connection there, but I don't know if these blades that you seek are directly connected to the enclave that I'm seeking now, that I need to take an interest in. Um, I have a favor that I might ask you, though.
Okay.
It's come to my attention, at least from what I understand from my conversations with Duke Adalbert, that you recovered something from a shrine. Um, well, if I recall, we discussed it briefly. A shrine or temple underneath the town of Hilton.
And so I'm trying to remember what that was. What was that?
It's the thing that's buried in your chest.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah, I did.
Well, I'm coming to a conclusion here, and I just want to make sure you know that I'm not being self-serving in this request. Perhaps a bit, but of course for the histories, not for myself or my own well-being. But you found an orb in the Derlithoth Temple, if I recall correctly, a blue one, or a weird one that your fish friend took up. I can't remember his name, I'm sorry.
Malik.
That's the one. I also recall that you said that you'd entered into a place inside of the temple and just recently, did the same underneath Castle Stormloft, yes?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, not much was recovered from the temple at Hilton. Perhaps, maybe, even if it is a dead end, maybe you can recover some of the artifacts that are present there. And maybe if there's any remnants of that creature that you defeated there that I was told about, you could bring that back to me.
So this is in Hilton he's talking about.
Yeah. Yes. That's right. That's what he's talking about.
Okay. So we're talking about two different locations. One is Raven's Watch, which is east of Stormloft, and
Well,
the second is Hilton.
He said in Raven's Watch, all he saw was an etching of the fair woman. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an old Vazriel site that was basically has been built upon, and he, in his earlier days as an archaeologist, did some excavation there, and he said he saw that. That was the main thing that they found, was that etching. In fact, he would take you to a portion of the museum, and you would find that he's got a very large piece of parchment that looks like it has a carbon rubbing of it, so you don't have to go to Ravenwatch if you didn't want to. And it's basically what I showed you in his book. He hand drew it. It's a six-armed woman with curved blades kind of raised up.
Okay.
And he says, if you go back to the shrine in Hilton and bring stuff back to me, I can reward you. And if you don't find what you seek, then at least you won't go away empty-handed.
Yeah, we're really not interested in money at this point. We have much bigger goals in mind.
I never said anything about money. I can continue to give you information.
Okay, well that could be valuable then.
Unfortunately, I can't assist you in regards to these swords. The only person that I can think of that is a knowledgeable historian in Elvish society that would be anywhere near the city is the Barbagazi Prince, Avendrin Barbagazi. He's a bit of a lore master.
So I've heard he also seems to be a bit of a recluse lately.
I was never truly friends with him, nor did I associate with him. He's one of the lords on the council, so I couldn't say what his his mannerisms are like. I know he's a gnome.
Hawk would turn to Groose to see if Groose has any questions.
Krush kind of shrugs and says, you said in Hilton? Kind of looks to you. Is that where we're going?
That's definitely one of the places where we're going to be heading. There might be a few places to go to that he mentioned locally first, like the Barbagesi Prince and this Raven's Watch.
I don't know what our luck will be with meeting with the Barbagesi Prince, but I suppose we could try. Hoppler kind of nods, and Goose gives his pleasantries. Thank you. And kind of mosey along. All right, cut from you. Go back to Malik. You are asleep, and so is Boo. Hawk, I assume you're going back to the apartments.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And Zelbor, you are in your mansion. Are you there? Okay, there you go.
I'm in my mansion. I am currently getting a massage before I go to sleep.
MTV Cribs,
Because
right?
of course, I make sure there's a massage parlor in my mansion.
It's an unseen
Because,
servant.
Damn it, it's my mansion.
It's an unseen servant type thing that gives you a massage. But there is a knock.
Yeah, I know.
There's a knock at your door.
I just wrap the towel around me and walk up to the door.
All right.
That's bad.
You open up the door, and Typha stands before you. Interesting decor on the door. And she kind of looks in, and within. Are you some sort of mage?
As I said,
Nope.
I'm
This is I
just-
built it with my hands. Fuck you.
Of course I'm a mage, you dumb bitch.
I'm what's known in layman's term as fucking amazing.
Well, she kind of leans forward and hands you a note.
What does the note say?
You kind of open it up, and inside it looks like Ifuna's handwriting, but it doesn't look like it's a note to you. It looks... Cat.
I can hear you.
It looks like it is a series of requests, and it seems to be kind of seems to be a series of requests for items, wand, and it's kind of vague, the items that are listed, but it seems to be written in her hand. It kind of looks like a shopping list. And it looks like several of the items are checked off, but as you're looking at them, several of the items appear to be items that you recovered from your house just recently, or dismantled from your house just recently. And the cat was thrown across the room.
No, I picked up the food so she couldn't stick her face in it.
Bad cat. You-
Yeah.
You want to see a good cat? You want to see a good cat?
Galen's upstairs though.
You can just barely see the little gray little patch there on the
yeah.
blanket. Just hanging
Yeah.
out. He's a boy.
As I said, Scanlan's upstairs, so I can just go up there and see a good cat.
My cat's gooder. Anywho,
Cat Wars.
My
Anyway,
cat may not be gooder, but she is prettier.
fair.
so some sort of shopping list almost, it seems like. Just
Yeah,
a
but it's-
rather expensive one.
It seems like it's for the kit and such for the activities that were presented in your house.
Well, honestly, don't know anything about this. Won't know until I see her again. And depending on if there's anything else or if this is it, me seeing her might be a little while.
Yeah. All right. And you
Do you
kind.
want to like come in, have a mimosa? I have a couple in there or something else.
I can't drink while I'm on duty. I apologize, but if you are asking me for a drink,
No, I was just being polite.
No. She says my shift for watch ends at dusk.
Oh, God.
I'll keep that in mind.
You're getting your wish, Matt.
Yeah, Ifuna's gone and he's
Oh,
moving on.
oh shit!
No, I
Matt.
was just being polite because
Matt's gonna fuck Chad.
Oh,
Anyway.
no.
I was literally just being polite because she was standing in my doorway.
She kind of just
don't
gives
know why you guys are reading into this.
you a gesture, and she says, "Are you staying here, or should we? If we have any more information, should we be? This is where you're staying."
Well, I'll either be in here or if it actually gets cleaned up in there.
Oh well, we're not cleaning it. We're just taking all of the materials that are illicit, but everything else is up to
Oh,
you.
fine. I'll either be in here or find someone named.
If there are
I'll probably be in here.
there are cleaning crews that you can probably pay some coin to assist you with the mess in your living room.
Can you charge your unseen servant to clean your house while you sleep in the mansion?
If
Fortunately, if they go outside of the mansion, they disappear.
Okay.
could you make your mansion inside your house?
What if you make the mansion around the house?
It doesn't work that way.
What if he
work
puts
that
his
way.
door
I wish
on
it
the
did.
door so when he opens, nah.
If you want to mess with the rest of your party, you should put the mansion door in where the door is, so that they come
Why-
up to it, open it up, and they go, "What the fuck?" Anywho,
Make the mansion
Right.
gross.
they continue their cleaning process. By the time they get a long rest and Hawk makes his way back to the castle, they seem to be done with your house and they leave. But Hawk, you arrive back at the apartments. Malik is
Okay.
in the middle of a long rest, and the trance appears to be over for Boo. So you three are back together.
Cool. Do we wonder if Zell has gotten himself into any trouble, or do we not really care?
One of the
Am I awake?
One of the attendants says, I believe it was said just briefly in passing when he left that he was heading back to his house.
Okay. So Hawk would say to the others, I've learned all I need to know. I think that we should probably move on if that's okay with you.
Sure. It's morning.
No, you didn't go to sleep at night.
Okay.
Yeah, you're messing up your sleep schedule.
Oh, well, then I go back to sleep.
All right.
I don't want to mess up my sleep schedule. You hate to get your nights and days mixed up, then you're all messed up.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to sleep the whole 12 hours.
That's right. It just,
Fine, then we'll just go the next morning. How about that?
We'll go in the morning, yeah.
All right.
And then head to the mansion.
If you guys are waiting up on Zelbor, he never comes back.
Nah, we're not gonna wait for him.
You're just
I
gonna
don't think any of us care enough that much.
just gonna go without him.
Of course.
Okay. All right. I'll cut once he gets back down from where. Well, that cat just chased him. Oh, now two cats.
Two of them coming back. Ooh. One of
You're
these-
popular.
Those cats are.
Scanlan locked himself in the spare bedroom.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they aren't coming.
So we slept the night. Go ahead.
They're sleeping in the apartments, you presume. By the time dusk kind of rolls around, like I said, the guards are out of your house. It is a mess in there. If you go inside, you do see a couple
I'm just sleeping in the mansion.
Okay, you're not gonna go and regroup with your group. You just okay. Do you want to pay somebody to clean that house?
I'll do that in the morning.
Okay, you did before you came back to the place with guards. You did go and get your coin given to you. It's 1,000 platinum pieces in a small bag, or a decent sized bag. But yeah, okay. You go to sleep. You guys wake up in the morning. I assume we'll go ahead and start with the crew in the apartments. Duke Adalbert is awake and appears to be engaging in breakfast. It's just him, though, so he's actually taken on the form of Bob, and is kind of looking at you guys as you kind of wake up one by one, and he says, I apologize, I had a really busy day yesterday. Wasn't able to talk with you. It does seem that you've gotten in contact with Groose.
That's right, and have some good leads about where to go next. But I do have a question for you before we leave.
Sure.
We've been told that the Barb Against Gezi Prince is a good sort of resource for questions about magic, but he seems not to want to talk to people. Do you have any insight into that?
He has only entered into the Council of Lords by means of projection. We have not seen him in the past 6 months in person. He has stayed within his keep on the north side of town. The common thought is that he is trying his best to make sure that the refugees that still linger there are afforded a decent amount of courtesy as they live there.
Okay.
You recall that the Barbagezi Keep, in its kind of walls and around it, were where the refugees from all of the cities that have been sacked have been coming to.
Got it. I was just thinking back to the other gnome that was holed up in his house that we had to kill back in Hilton.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
That was a fun time.
Seemed like gnomes just like staying in their houses in this setting.
Apparently so. So that's all I want to know. So unless the others have questions, I'd want to try to find Zelbor.
Aiden also kind of says to you, if you have a question for him, though, and he pulls out a piece of paper and sets it on the table, and then sets a pen next to the piece of paper. If you write on this, he should be able to reply to you in kind.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. So I would need to leave it with him, you mean, right now?
If you wish to have a conversation with the Barbagezi Prince, write your questions or inquiries on the paper, and he will reply to you.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Let's ask him if he knows, because he's supposed to know more about elven culture too. That's what our Hobbler or somebody said.
Hoppler.
We can ask him about what, like, if he knows if there's supposed to be 6 swords, like for each of the 6 hands of that elven chick or whatever that monster is, or if there's supposed to be 7, and if he knows what the riddle of that is like you said, could it be that the 7th is actually all the 6 swords put together? So we ask him about that. He may know.
Yeah. So maybe we can write something down about we're trying to find out more information about the fair woman, the 5th party, or did you call it a party or a tribe, John?
It was called the Elvish Enclave. It was a 5th. It was a 5th party in the warring tribes era.
Right, and the Dias Blades. So there's sort of those 3 things.
Tell me what you write on the paper.
Oh, crap. We seek information about the legends of the fair woman.
Okay. As you finish that
okay.
sentence, the words disappear off the page. And then words appear on the page that say, "Who is this?" And just as you're about to pick up the pen to write back, you see this eye appear above the paper, about 2 feet above the paper. It just
awesome.
snaps and it kind of goes and tracks each one of you, and then it vanishes. The paper goes blank again, and then another writing kind of etches out onto the paper, and it says, "Aiden, I told you not to reveal this to anyone. What have you done?" Aiden,
continue that we're friends.
Aiden kind of shrugs.
Hawkwood, go ahead.
He kind of shrugs and he says, he's watching us now, so he can hear us. If you want to talk, he'll probably just reply on the paper. It's usually how he treats me. He kind of shrugs. I forgot he didn't want me to tell anybody. Sorry.
That seems unlike you, Aiden. Hawk would take out the Dias Blade. Yeah, really. He would take out the Dias Blade and sort of, I guess, display it if he's being watched.
The writing kind of goes into a flurry, and you can see it's in the Elvish script at first, and it says, "Dias Sentina, one of the guardians of the gates," and then in Elvish, and then after that it writes, "And how did you come across it? Captain Hawk."
Former captain. And then he would, I guess, describe how he got it and maybe reveal the orb in his chest, if that's possible, quickly.
The second you kind of show the orb, you feel the room kind of become magnetic towards the center of the room. And then you see this puff of purple energy appear in front of you, and standing on the table is this gnome in just fine blue robes with a white frosty beard, a bald head, and spiky hair off the sides. The room kind of becomes a bit more chill as he enters into the room, and he looks at you and he says, "What have you done? How did you come across that orb? What are you doing?"
It's not the only orb we possess.
The curse was broken. How do
Apparently not.
How do you have it? Why do you have
we,
it?
We four carry the curse. We three carry the curse. I guess that Zell's not with us right now.
There's 4, and you said there's 4. There's a 4th. Who's the 4th? Looks to Aiden. Are you cursed? Did you bring this into my house? Aiden kind of says, I don't, and just backs away. Kind of, whoop, I'm Donovan Albert, and walks out the door. Oh, I gotta go to work. Bye. And the gnome's still just kind of angry, kind of looks to you again. Why do you have it?
Feel free to jump in, guys.
Well, that globe, that orb just seemed to stick right into his chest because it was like one of his ancestors. And then this orb, and I pull out the blue one. This orb was one of my ancestors, and it's all this
Mention the shame.
internet stuff.
Mention the shame.
The shame, yep. The shame of Albacoris.
What?
Yeah, that was us. We accidentally did that.
That is why.
You didn't have to say that part.
Why?
Oh, sorry. You said mention it. I'm very honest.
How did you do this?
That is
That's what
why.
happens when I talk.
That is why Gideon has taken Sorrowgate? Because of this curse that you renewed? That you brought back into the world?
I mean,
Well,
not
we're
on
gonna try to get rid of
purpose.
it. Yeah,
My bad. My bad.
Well,
You see him kind
we
of
know
like
somebody. I'm not gonna say it.
you see him kind of like stop and kind of like just like kind of twitch, and it looks like he's kind of listening to something, and then he kind of looks back at you and he says, "It wasn't renewed. It's always been present." And he reaches towards Malik, like not like snapping towards him, just kind of like reaches his hand out to you. And as he does so, you feel a rumbling in your pouch. Give it to me.
He's grabbing the chalice.
Give it to me.
Wait a minute. You can look at it.
And
But this is very precious.
he seems to be snapping it out of your pouch.
So, all right, that's okay. You can look at it.
All right,
but
if-
it's not yours to keep.
It floats over to him, and he grabs a hold of it.
Right? Yeah, look at it. Hey, want to try something neat? Bleed in it.
I know how it works. Shut up, buffoon.
You don't have to get snappy now, you know. Hey, we could really use
He
your
throws the
help.
cup
You're
back to
supposed
you just suddenly, just snaps it at you.
Catch it. You're supposed to be the expert at all this stuff, and we are just kind of trying to work through it. We need all the help we can get,
Well,
as you could tell.
you've already got the chalice. If you need questions answered, ask the questions and have the light shown before you. The darkness of your mind will be illuminated by it. Athun rests within it. You hold practically a goddess, you fool.
Oh yeah, guys, I forgot. I haven't told you that yet. I figured that out last night.
Oh, nice.
Sorry. I mean, I wasn't gonna keep it from you. Obviously.
Where's the 4th? Who's the 4th?
Oh wait till you meet the fourth. Well, I don't want to overplay it because I don't want you to get your
No,
He's pretty cool.
he's a little self-involved.
Yeah, he's cool though. He's very smart.
He-
He's like the smartest person I know.
Drops to his knees. Again, he's still standing on the desk, and he kind of like, just shut up for a second. And he kind of just starts etching his fingers on the parchment. And you can see as he moves his fingers across it, ink seems to spill out of his fingertips onto the paper. And maybe 10 seconds passes, and this massively intricate like symbol is etched onto the paper. And as he finishes it, he says, "Ominigadath Muriata," and slams his hand down on the paper. When he does so, he vanishes. And Matt, are you there?
I think there's a cat on his stairs.
Matt,
I am here. Sorry, I'm also making dinner in the background because I have not eaten yet.
Okay, well this
Oh.
then real quick, I'm gonna leave them to talk a bit, but you hear a knock on your door. It's in the
I'm guessing
morning.
I'd be awake at this point.
Yeah, it's in the morning.
Sis, I'm having an all bacon breakfast.
Okay.
So I'm just going to grab my plate of bacon,
How-
throw a little extra bacon on it, and walk.
Are you taking some time to like work out the bacon thing after the knock and giving it time to go?
I mean, I'm not giving it that long. I'm just sort of like
How-
grabbing as
how
I walk
long?
through the door. About like however long it takes for me to grab bacon while I'm walking to the door. Probably like 5 seconds.
Okay, you walk to the door with bacon. I was gonna say if you make
Yeah.
him wait, it'll be funny.
No, I'm not going to make him like whoever's at the door wait because I'm not sure whether or not it's like something else in terms of the
Fair.
Police.
You open up the door, and standing outside is just a really irritated looking blue gnome. Well, I mean, frosty blue hair. He's got white skin. And on the ground around him is this pattern that seems to just be kind of burning and like slowly like going out. The fire of it's slowly going out on the ground around him. And he looks at you and he says, "Are you the fourth?
I'm Zelbor. Do you want some bacon?
Are you the cursed?" And he looks up at your head. "Yeah, you're the cursed." He reaches in and grabs you by like the waist, and as he does so, he's gonna cast a spell on you.
My towel!
If you okay, if you wish to resist the spell, you can go ahead and make me a what is it? Teleport resistance is wisdom. Let me check.
DC 30.
Oh, he's not that strong. He'd just go find all the.
Okay.
He'd go solve all the problems himself. Willing target.
Here's the question. Do I still have the bacon with me?
Oh yeah.
Then
Okay,
you should
then
just
I
go.
don't care. I've got the bacon.
I hope you bring enough for everybody.
Nope. Just for me now.
Nope.
There's that bacon.
8 willing creature. It has to be willing for it. Man, spells are
He
weird.
said he's willing. He said he's
Okay,
willing.
fine.
Yeah, as I said, I've got the bacon.
Poof!
Just sort of along with whatever's happening.
You vanish. He's now standing on a desk, and you kind of like are above the ground a little bit when you appear, and you kind of fall a little bit to land. He's still holding your towel, and it kind of goes up as you go down. So you're kind of flopping about, and he kind of hands your towel to you. All right, you're assembled then. The cursed. What in the hell? What in the hell have you been doing? Why hasn't this been brought to my attention?
You guys want some bacon?
I'll try
Also-
some, sure.
Also, what the hell is going on?
Well,
This is the Barbagezi prince. He's supposedly giving us some assistance with our problems.
I'm not giving you assistance. You asked me a question which was stupid and could be answered by your merfolk friend. Ask him. And you.
He's not a morning person.
And you. He kind of turns and looks at the elf, and he just starts walking towards you. But he doesn't lose. He doesn't fall off the desk. He just starts walking across the air towards you, and like stands in front of you and looks at you. The amulet of penultimate truth. You just wear it like a trinket out and about. How have you come across these items? How have you come across this curse? Why has no one told me that this is happening in my city?
Well, if it makes you feel better, we were gone for 3 months getting the chalice, so.
3 months? Where did you go and get it? Wait. You went into the plane of Sindisgray? To recover the chalice? It was locked.
Yes, it sucked.
It was... How did you enter it? Oh, you're blooded. You're the ones of Tavesh Nernon. That's...
We seem to find our way into these places. We're looking for them. It's not easy, but, you know, it kind of amazes me sometimes, too.
Again, not by choice.
The Order must be made aware of this.
Yeah, it doesn't amaze them by choice.
The Order must be made aware of this. This is unacceptable. You bring a great danger, and now we know it's not. It is still. It is still.
What order are you speaking of?
It doesn't matter. They can't help. They can't help.
I'm sure you can help. You seem to know a lot about this.
The Covenant has bound it. They cannot help.
You're from the Covenant?
No. What?
Also, could this order involve more bacon? Because I'm starting to run out.
No.
He looks to you, to Zell, like
No,
just angry.
I'm at the conglomerate.
And as
I'm at the conglomerate.
you're reaching up with the bacon to put it in your mouth, like the last piece of it, he just snaps his fingers at you, and it turns into a fish that's just flopping in your hands.
Let me have that.
This is for you.
Yeah, that.
And as you're about to bite into it, he snaps his fingers again, and it turns into bacon. You're like, ah.
Oh, man.
And he says,
Man, that is so sad.
I don't have time for your bacon. I do not have time for your stupid questions. Listen to me. This is important. You've already wasted so much time. You know what you're doing, right? I mean, you understand what you're trying to do? You have to take that chalice. You need to take it, and you need to split it into its 5 distinct chalices before the Keeper. The Keeper is dead. The Keeper was killed in the Third Era. How are you supposed to...
Question about something. Is the Keeper some sort of wizard?
The Keeper is an individual named Jizix.
Yes.
Good to know. But was he a wizard?
Yes, a very powerful
Okay.
wizard.
Could he manipulate time?
Yes, he was a student of Varwin
Hey guys, I have a thought.
You have a theory, huh?
and gained inspiration, by the way.
Oh, Jesus.
Nice job, Matt.
Oh yeah.
All
A
right.
student of whom?
Varwin, the god of elves. He kind of breathes for a second.
I have a question
He
for you.
he reaches into his pouch and he goes, "Ask it." And as he's saying that, he pulls out this huge pipe. Like he's a little gnome, and the pipe is almost as big as he is. And he sets the pipe in his hand, and he's kind of like holding it like this with one thing, and then he kind of reaches up, and you see like a spark of like blue flame kind of light into the thing, and he starts going. Go ahead and ask your question.
All right. I'm gonna look over at Hawk real quick and say, "Hey, are we keeping stuff? Or are we just spilling it?" I'm thinking.
It seems like he knows more than we know, so why not just get it all out there?
Okay, maybe you can help explain why we have a friend named Cardiff. He's a powerful wizard, and he seems to be able to travel through time. But some
Chronomancers
people
can
can't.
travel through time.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
to be very specific, he did something called breaking the Arch of Time, and now there's multiple of him going around.
And
Yeah.
some creatures want him destroyed.
Right. Some creatures told us we need to kill him. What sort of sense can you make out of that?
What?
We're screwing with him so bad.
Look.
Do we need to draw a diagram for you?
Wait. I need you to start from the beginning as he's smoking his pipe. At that moment, we kind of do one of those crossfades into you tell him everything, or are you holding anything back?
No, we're gonna tell him everything, and it's gonna fade back in with his head in his hands, right?
I was going to say, well, I was born a poor country child.
As deep as you want to go. And you guys talk with him throughout, and like night falls, it becomes late. Candles are lit by the attendants who,
Yeah, we tell the whole story.
you know, kind of march in, march out. And
Make a mansion full of bacon.
you would see that he kind of looks to you guys and he says, "I will start from the beginning, the true beginning of the matter. In an earlier age, the god Varwin, he bred with another goddess, and they created the Lishay, the first of the elves. From his loins came the first 4, the goddesses known as the Witwaven, the fair ones, the daughters of Bicavaria, the daughters of the sun. They were jealous of the love that he showed for her, and they all tricked him, and they each had 2 children. One such child was a child named Tovesh Nernon. When these children came into the world was different. It was covered with trees. The forest spread from shore to shore. ENA was nothing more than one forest, one wood. But to the north, there were things that came as well from the same place that Varwin came from, outside of this world. There was, of course, Sextor Sul, the god of the orcs, known to the dwarves as... I don't remember. It's unimportant. Dwarf religions. But there was another And this one being the important one, an entity known as Vaticus. Vaticus was a god, but he was a parasite. Some say the first parasite. He created a blight that fed on the earth and world around him. And the one wood where he was destroyed. Tovesh Nernon wanted that power and joined with Vaticus. And became a creature which, in our terms, in our age, we would refer to as a vampire. A creature that sustains itself on the life of other things. Varhuin cursed his bloodline, and his 4 children, who were horrible as well, would continue the curse. But Tovesh Nernon directly disappeared. No trace of him past that point. Many presume that he was obliterated by Varhuin or some champion of his in this early age. But his children's curse was broken during the Third Age by Delarian Atele, Aegon Brawl, Aloria Caldreist. He thinks for a second. And Dalaman Forged On. And I cannot remember the final one. Leon Charistus. And together they defeated Jizix, spilled their blood into the chalices, returned the orbs to them, and made the 5 chalices into one, and Athun bound it to the plane of Sindisgray with the curse, where it was supposed to be burned from all the material plane by its hot fires. That apparently hasn't happened. I don't know how it was reborn, or if it had ever left entirely. But you would not be having the problems that you're having, he says as he gestures towards Hawk, if you weren't born with your curse. So, your story begins after these events. And you tell me that you are in company of a chronomancer who is being chased by entities. And it said that he broke the Arch of Time. I am not skilled in the arts of time magic, so I could not tell you what that means. But it sounds like it is indeed a very potent problem that needs to be rectified.
Wait a minute. I just thought of something. What if the curse was broken, but then our affiliation with this chronomancer has somehow screwed up the timeline and now it hasn't been broken?
But then why would we know about it and have lore that said it was done?
I don't know.
And
I'm
then,
very smart.
and then the DM asks you, is it Berenstain or is it Berenstein?
I've heard that theory before. It's Berenstein. Berenstein Bears when I was little. That's what it always was.
Was Nelson Mandela alive or dead?
I don't know. How do we know?
Yeah, I would like to say people assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, non-linear, non-subjective point of view, it's more like a big ball of wibbly wobbly,
Timey-wimey
stuff.
And he kind of looks at you and he says, "It seems you know more about chronomancy than I do."
He's smart. He comes up with stuff like that every once in a while.
He was quoting Doctor Who.
I know that.
Fair.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
So, I ask you, what is your current objective? What are you intending to do? Why have you gone and found the chalice? Why have you gone and unlocked the amulet? These things... Go ahead.
Yeah, we seek to destroy the curse, and we were under the impression that gathering together the swords and finding the sword of ultimate sorcery would help us do that.
Your quest is for the sword of ultimate sorcery. Why?
Listen, our main quest is to get these bloody things off of us.
But no, why? Why do you seek the sword?
Because we think we can use it to get these bloody things off of us.
He kind of
We
looks.
could use it to kill the worm that walks.
He looks at
Yeah,
you
that too.
confused and just kind of says, I don't follow. The sword of ultimate sorcery is the truest blade that has ever existed according to elvish lore. It was bound away.
Damn it.
I don't understand what it has to do with what you're saying. You're saying it's going to get what off of you?
The curse.
You think that you can use it to remove the curse?
We think we can kill the worm that walks, which will end the curse, we're hoping.
Gideon has nothing to do with your curse.
Shouldn't we kill him anyways?
Oh yeah,
He's
sure.
evil.
I grant you that. That's a good idea. Sure.
Right.
But
We got one, guys.
I want to make sure you're aware that the problem is, from what I can tell, 2 of your orbs have been awakened. What that means is the blood of Tovesh Dernon is flowing in the Black Winds. It is entering into this world. It's being allowed to be free.
Are you saying we have to sacrifice ourselves?
No.
Good.
I mean-
that's,
Oh, good.
that's pretty bad.
Honestly, that might solve it. That's definitely an option. If
Which ones were the activated ones? So
he
we
looks
know.
over at Hawk and he looks over at Zelbor.
Zelbo. Okay, that's what I thought too, but I want to make sure.
Yeah. And he says, that's a problem. The chalice was placed into a world of fire, the prison, the heart of Sindus Grey. Where did you find the amulet?
Didn't we find the amulet
You tell him.
yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
What was that?
It's okay.
I remember.
He says, the amulet, I don't understand how it even comes into this equation, but you say that you found it in an earthy place, a world of earth, so Gavalis. Do you know what else you seek? These artifacts are very powerful. I know that the chalice was bound to where it was bound, but I did not know that the amulet had anything to do with this curse. Are you saying that, the priest's tongue is, or the Mythorge, or the Amen Kreber? What kind of artifacts are going to pop up next? And you kind of think for a second. Amen Kreber is the hammer of the god Atavius that is used to strike the truest arrow. The Mythorge is the sword wielded by Nayland Balcard, the Grey Reaver. These are things that don't matter. They're just historical artifacts for the setting. And the priest's tongue is Onaionomen, the first man, is said to have used the priest's tongue, or create the priest's tongue from gods to become a god himself. He's basically just hyperbole saying, these powerful artifacts are involved. What about these other powerful artifacts that he just said?
So Hawk would just reply, I know none of that, but I do know that each of us seem to be connected to one of the elements. Me to earth,
Right.
points to Zell to fire, and so on.
As blood magic was used by Varquin to curse the blood, it makes perfect sense that humorism was involved. The core elements from the chaos were manipulated to create the curse. That's primal.
I'd like to say this is bloody, but I don't find it that funny. And I get smacked again by the little gnome. And then by Boo.
Everyone's slapping the punster. He says to you, if it is truly your intent to continue to unlock these orbs, unlock your blood, and unlock the power therein, then I can't stop you. If you think the sword will somehow help you, defeating Gideon should not be involved with the curse. But the Amulet of Penultimate Truth should not be involved in the curse either. But there it rests on your chest. I cannot tell you how this goes. I do not understand it. I can tell you about those swords, though. The Daya swords were created to guard against a gateway to the 13 gates of Ashtar. As he's saying that, he kind of drops or walks back over to his desk and starts doodling. He says, the gates are the gates to hell, the hells that we know. According to the lore, there are 13 hells, one for each of the cardinal sins of our people, of all mortals. You, of course, know those sins. And as he says that, obviously your characters know, but you don't. But the 13 deadly sins, because 7's just not enough. Add more. Wrath, gluttony, lust. Hold on, let me just get my notes. Bear with me here.
Please tell me one of them is talking during theater.
Talking during the theater. That's the one. Yep.
Or that special hell.
Texting and driving.
Texting and driving. Yep, that one. Oh, breach of the bro code. I don't know. I'm just trying to sound cool. I failed. I'm sorry, guys.
More Firefly references if you want to sound cool.
Wearing socks with sandals.
Deception.
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay.
Not getting into
Here we go.
the sock loop.
If you're taking notes on this, deception, gluttony, pride,
All right.
lust, corruption, betrayal, wrath, sloth, oppression, vanity, despair, greed, envy. That's it. Should be 13.
13.
Yep. And the religious member of the party, Malik,
Yep.
you would know that Vice Desteshnin, you don't have to take these notes, I'm just going to say them. Vice is the prince of deception. Humbaba is the prince of gluttony. Gusion is the prince of pride. Alacia Nagai is the princess of lust. Duran Balkard, the prince of corruption. Balberith, the prince of betrayal. Grumnar, the prince of wrath. Morbazenrot, the prince of sloth. Nabarius, the prince of oppression. Teffington, the prince of vanity. Anislane, the princess of despair. And Ashmedea, the princess of greed. Last but not least, and this one is the one that you have heard the name of before, and you would kind of weirdly think about it. The name of the demon prince of envy is Sod Derlathoth.
Right.
The name of the last one is Bill.
Bill, or it's Bob, and then everyone looks at Iden, but he's not there. Ah.
Interesting. Did you know that, Hawk? That the swords were supposed to be guarding these gates to hell?
So
Yes.
yes,
I didn't know all the names, and I didn't know there were 13.
fair. The gate guardian is known as the Diastai. Diasthai. It's said to be a very powerful entity that guards the gates. But in the Third Age, which seems to be the most pressing, during the Grey War, 7 saints came together and bound themselves to these blades to seal a rift in the real world to those gates.
Shouldn't there be saints wielding these swords?
No, the saints basically bound themselves to those to act as
Oh, so-
keys to the gate they created.
So what's these swords' purpose then if they're all spread out across the world?
They are not supposed to be brought together. They allow you access to the realm of Diasthai, the gate guardian.
Okay.
And so in Ragnall's Grove, there's the shrine to the 7 saints.
I'm aware. And if
Um,
you assemble those 7 swords and you place them into their places, you'll open a portal to hell.
we're going to hell.
What the hell?
If it-
Hell with the devil.
If whatever it is,
We're on the highway.
if whatever it is leading you there, and that's where you need to go, yeah, I would assemble those swords. But if someone has told you that assembling these swords would be beneficial to you and did not inform you as to where you were going, I'd be wary of that person.
I think this might be a one-way trip.
Fair enough.
Maybe. Maybe.
I'm going to learn plane shift.
Okay. And real quick,
Reload.
I finally got it loaded, but let me go ahead and give you a handout.
Handouts.
He finishes drawing, and that's what he's finished drawing.
Looks like the Green Lantern
What
symbol.
is
That's
that?
the flare.
You would recognize it, Malik.
It does.
It is the hells. If you look at the center circle, there are 13 paths that lead out from it, and each one of the planes around it, there are a total of 13. There are 3 orbs on the outskirts, and there's 1 bar on the outskirts, which you would know are basically just cardinal directionality. Basically, it's reference to the elemental chaos, hell, because the gates exist in the chaos of the elements.
All right.
Earth, and then the 3 orbs are water, fire, and air. The bar is the non-mutable, and the rest are mutable.
Hawk, I really hope we don't have to go there.
I think we're going there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the map.
This sounds so horrible.
Yeah. Sounds really bad.
Maybe we should come up with some side quests here.
Well, we have 3 things that we can do. The three leads that we were given.
Right.
So wait, I've got a question. This Gate Guardian, was it created by 3 gentlemen by the name of Yu, Ki, and Ho?
No.
Oh.
But is that how that goes? I mean,
Well, no. There's a character there's one of the cards for Duel Monsters called the Gate Guardian.
oh.
So Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh.
Oh.
You've sprung my trap card. I don't know.
Sorry, just random reference that I wasn't sure anyone would get besides like me, because I'm really nerdy.
Yeah. You took it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't played that card game recently or watched any of it. Stop looking at me.
Evandrin, the gnome, kind of looks at you guys, just shaking his head, and he says, "Whatever your course is, I suppose I will be fine with it. I am annoyed that I hadn't been brought into this matter earlier. I suppose if you wish to have my assistance, I can give it to you. My magic is quite potent, but my body is quite frail. I'm not keen for traveling the world. It's never been something I was interested in doing. But if you need to see far into the world, or if you need to go somewhere besides here, I am a wayfarer, or I am a master of teleportation magic, not a wayfarer. I don't know why I said that. Wayfarer is actually a thing that exists in this world. It's a fish
Yes,
people.
it is. It's a.
Yep. He says,
merfolk.
I can teleport you to where you need to go, and I can show you places far from here.
I can show
Show you the world.
shining shimmer.
Oh, this is great. Do you have a magic carpet too? Please
But
tell me you have a magic carpet.
I want
I did have a broom until someone touched their form.
to make sure you understand. At this point, I, as a member of the Grey Order, have to report everything I've heard here to my superior. And it will be his choice if this breaks the balance or not. And you kind of look at him confused and not sure what he's talking about.
I want to talk about that. If your superior tells you that you have to kill us, are you going to kill us or are you going to help us like you said before?
If killing you restores the balance, then yeah, I'd definitely fight you. But I don't think you're immortal. Immortal. You are not breaching the covenant. And you kind of think about it for a second, and if you have history trained or religion trained, you can make a intelligence with proficiency.
Ooh, this will be fun. I do have.
What if you've got neither trained, but you're a jack of all trades?
I'll allow it.
I don't think I have to add something to this. Yeah, I'm horrible. I don't know what he's talking about. This is good though. I'm not very smart. I'm like, what's he talking about, Hawk?
Nope.
So
No
you
idea.
say add proficiency?
Yeah. So you'd be
So,
what? 19?
19?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good enough. You guys don't know what he's
Good
talking.
enough.
You don't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
You, Hawk, though, know what the covenant is in reference to. The covenant of the Ascended is said to have been a pact that was forged at the end of the Third Age between very powerful heroes of the world that were defending the world against the gods and their destructive powers. It's the reason why gods can't directly influence the world, and it's said to be why faith is important. The gods are there, but they can't just come into your world and change it. They can grant you powers through the White Winds, and they can grant you boons through the White Winds, but they can't just appear and change your life like they could
Okay.
back in the past.
Right. A little bit less
Ba-
hands-on.
Yeah, basically think of it any religion. We'll go with Christianity because it's the most common. Like back in the Old Testament and even in the New Testament, you had these stories of these great miracles being performed. But now in the Common Age, like miracles are a little bit more subjective. Very similar. Like you have actual powers versus none currently in the plane. And when I say powers, I mean like deities, not.
Right. Hawk would say, we won't be turned from our path.
Fair enough. If you are addressed by a member of the Order, I would advise you to show as much respect as you could and do as they tell you. Or it would be problematic. I don't know if my superior will come to you, but if it is, Dryson is a bit of a, he's a bit of a hot-headed person when it comes to matters he doesn't agree with. So it may be hard to sway him if you do not cooperate.
Oh wow. He's not that guy, is he?
He is that guy.
That one asshole.
He is. No, it's not that guy. No, the conglomerate.
Oh,
No.
Tie that in yet.
No.
Oh no! What have I done?
No, that guy is not a
I
member of the
talked to
Grey Order.
this guy.
That guy is not a member of the Grey Order.
Thank God.
No. All right. He says that to you, and he says, "I will retreat back to my keep." He looks down at the paper and kind of waves his hand over it, and all of the ink kind of just vanishes from it. And he says, "If you need me, write a missive and tell me what it is you need. And if a member of the Grey Order comes to you, be prepared to cooperate." Do you have any questions for me before I return?
Nope. We would take that paper and thank him.
Nods his
Oh
head.
man, are we not gonna ask for any magic items right now?
Nah, I
Okay.
just don't feel it.
He vanishes with a puff of smoke. and purple energy. As he does so, who has the ley line mirror?
Cardiff.
No, Cardiff was consumed by it and entered into
I
it,
And
thought
it
Hawk picked it
disappeared.
up.
And then it-
Am I wrong?
dropped on the ground.
Yeah, I thought that one of us had it,
Okay,
right?
then probably
Yeah, I
Hawk
thought
had it, 'cause
Hawk
I
picked
did
it
not
up.
think-
Okay, so I have the mirror.
Okay, cool. As he vanishes and dissipates and gone, whatever pouch it is in just starts to feel really cold, like to the point where it starts to kind of like feel like it starts to hurt wherever it is. You just feel this cold kind of pulse coming from it.
So I would take it out.
It's cold to the touch.
Okay.
Quite cold.
I'm going to hand it to Zelbor. Here, warm this up.
Make a Constitution saving throw as you pull it out.
Okay.
No.
Uh,
Killed by a mirror.
To be fair, you're better at this than I am.
You're able to hand it over to Zelbor. It seems to be kind of causing rime to come across your fingertips, and it seems to be kind of completely coated in ice as you pass it over to Zelbor. You take it.
Sure.
Constitution saving throw.
Die
Oh.
instantly.
Well, no, not going to die instantly. I can die
No, I'm-
very, very, very quickly. Yep.
Oh, no.
No.
Hold on.
lucky, because you're lucky.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I'm going to blow my luck. Don't worry. I know that I still have luck, so I'm going to blow that luck and try again.
And you have
Okay.
inspiration if you
And no.
Okay.
No,
You're
I
within,
don't.
you get plus
Yeah, it's not-
6. You're within
It's
10 feet of me, I'm sure.
Still not good enough.
It's not going to be
You
enough.
feel your hand kind of get
Bummer.
like sharply stung by it, by the cold, and you drop the mirror. The second it hits the ground, ice starts to spread out from it and kind of coat the walls, kind of cover everything. And everybody just, your field of vision is kind of frosted over for a moment. And then
What the what?
you blink and everything kind of just goes normal, but you're not in the room you were in.
Oh, no.
You're standing in this
Son of a-
you're standing in this temple, and
What did you do?
you see before you two individuals. One is an elf, one is a human. It looks like they're in your group, like they're kind of standing close enough that they're like just assembled with you. And then about 20 or so feet out from them is this older looking man who has a very familiar looking face, very similar to Cardiff's. He doesn't have a beard, and he doesn't have any, he has just light wisps of hair on his head, and his face is kind of sunken in, but you can kind of see the telltale, Cardiff kind of looks.
Is this the ghost of Cardiff future?
Behind him is a very large replica of the Chalice of Light, but it seems to be spilling over with blood, which is kind of coming into a fountain around the base of it. And as you see this and kind of, notice it, Hawk, you recognize the fact that you're not holding your sword. When you look down at your hands, those aren't your hands. You realize you have a very large Parnin round shield on your arm, and in your other hand, you're holding a spear.
Oh, so we have become.
Wait.
I know what's happening.
Malik,
Comfortably numb.
when you kind of look over to where you saw, a Hawk, instead you see a Parnin soldier, like an absolute depiction of an Aetan soldier. He wears basically a Roman style helmet with a very large fan of fur and feathers. He has a very large shield. He's not wearing any pants. He does have greaves on,
Short shorts?
but basically his thighs are uncovered. And he has a large black orb in his chest, just like Hawk does. You kind of look down at your hands, and you have the hands of a female. Bit confusing. Zelbor, you kind of look over to your, friends. You see Hawk as I've described him. You look to where Malik was, and you see a female. Looks like a trackless or a merfolk. You're not sure what divides between them.
Right, and I look down and I look exactly the same.
Incorrect. When you look down, you see that your hands are bound in leathers, and your muscles are fucking swole, dude. You're like ripped.
Bro.
You kind of look down, and you're kind of wearing this strange looking like gi. Yeah, you look like you're ready to strap, but you don't have a weapon on you. But
this totally isn't like what I would wear.
You
brah.
can feel
Come on.
you can feel fire pulsing inside of you. Like you could just fucking punch the world, and it'd be fine. And
Punch it right in the face, brah.
He's so into it.
Last but not least, Boo, you kind of look to them and see them all as they are, and you kind of feel like you're not really there, and you feel this strong connection to where Hawk was. And as you kind of come to the realization that you aren't really there, you got to look at your hands and you can see right through them. You appear to be a ghost of something. And you guys kind of, are looking around at each other, and where Boo was standing, instead there's the ghost of what appears to be a priest. Kind of standing there with no weaponry, elvish ears, and completely translucent. As you kind of come to this realization that you're not in your own bodies, you seemingly changed. The chalice spilling over, you see Bethune come up out of the chalice, and she says, "You come to break the curse? You come to defeat the Keeper? You are foolish." And you feel compelled to fight this guy, this Cardiff-looking guy. And as he kind of stares at you, he pulls out 2 golden capstone or cap pieces, places them together, and draws them out, and creates this long black staff, spins it and slams it into the ground, creating a loud clinking sound, and says, "If you think this is what the true path is, if you think this will break the curse, then let us break the world." And that is where we'll end for tonight.
Oh,
Come on, bring it, brah.
Next session will be an interesting one for those of you who are watching at home. We'll be recreating a couple of scenes from the past, but we'll be doing it with an interesting twist. At this stage, for all intents and purposes, you guys just quantum leaped into heroes that were played by other people.
yeah.
You could change the world.
Wow.
Do we have character sheets for these characters?
You will have character sheets for these characters.
Wow, that is super
Yes.
cool.
They
That
are-
sounds awesome, dude, brah.
They are not.
You get to be a barbarian.
All right. No.
Or a monk.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the stream. I don't know why I always try and do the NVIDIA code for it, but yeah. Okay. Stop stream.